Hi, third graders. We have a really fun and kind of comical or funny lesson today. So I hope that you are ready with your best listening ears on. Let's get started. I will share my screen for you. Okay. Building that reading life for Willow Lake third graders. I want to start with a little story, as I sometimes do. I was in the public library last week because it's a wonderful place to go to get books. I was wearing my mask, I was being safe, I was social distancing, but a little girl was talking pretty loud, so I could still hear her. She was talking about Amelia Bedelia, and I just love Amelia Bedelia, so I decided that I would be friendly and say hello. So I said, "Oh, I love Amelia Bedelia." And I was kind of shouting because I kept those 6 feet of safe distance between us. I said, "Oh, I love Amelia Bedelia. She is more fun than a barrel of monkeys. She's a regular barrel of monkeys, that's for sure." And the little girl, she looked at me with a really funny and confused look on her face. She didn't know what I meant when I said that Amelia Bedelia was a barrel of monkeys. Are you saying, huh? Miss Bryce has lost it. She's crazy. What is she talking about? You might be confused too, just like this little girl. What do I mean when I say Amelia Bedelia was a barrel of monkeys? If you are confused, it's because I used what is called an expression. A barrel of monkeys is an expression. People use expressions to describe something and make it more meaningful. Expressions do not actually mean what they are saying. Monkeys are not actually in a barrel in any part of Amelia Bedelia. It just means that Amelia Bedelia is a hoot. She's funny, just like a barrel of monkeys would be, as you can see right here in my picture. A hoot means it's funny. A barrel of monkeys is funny, just like Amelia Bedelia. Today, I want to teach you about how to identify expressions and something called figurative language in your reading. Keep an ear out for those words, expression and figurative language. So, expressions use what is called figurative language. It is a way to describe something in more depth. You can see a mind movie, it's more interesting, or maybe it's more relatable. Expressions are just kind of fun, like I talked about before. It makes our writing really good, so this can connect to writing too, and it makes our reading really interesting. Some key words to remember that will help you. Figurative means not real, and literal means real. Because figurative language and expressions go beyond what the words are actually saying, you have to use grit to understand what the author means. And you might be wondering, Miss Bryce, why would any writer or reader go to all this trouble? Well, it makes books better. It makes them more challenging and more interesting. So as we go and read more challenging things, and as we as writers are writing more detailed pieces, these expressions are a great thing to use. It's something that mature writers and readers do. So that's kind of how it connects to writing. I know that you're working on making your writing better. Well, these expressions, they make our books better. So as you go through and you go through the levels of reading and you challenge yourself and you're reading harder books, you will see more expressions, and that will be kind of tough. We have to use that grit. So expressions are words that you might know, but when you put them together in a phrase, they mean something else. You know what a barrel is, and you know what monkeys are, but a barrel of monkeys, what? That doesn't seem to go together. is because it's an expression. I have some more examples that you might have heard before, but maybe you were confused when you heard them. Some people say every cloud has a silver lining. This means that good things come after bad things. True story, I just spilt my coffee. So I'm thinking to myself, I didn't really need that coffee anyways. I was going to be way too hyper. Every cloud has a silver lining. I'm believing that something good will come after my spilt coffee. Getting a taste of your own medicine is another common expression. It means that you get treated the way you've been treating others, which is not good. For example, if two friends are in an argument on the playground, a third friend might say, "Whew, that person's going to get a taste of their own medicine." And it means that because that person's being mean, somebody might be mean to them down the road. I know that's not really a great example because you all are too friendly and kind for that. Here at Willow Lake, we don't let that happen. The next example, giving someone the cold shoulder. It means you would ignore someone. Tying back to our last example, if somebody was being mean to me, I would do what's called giving them the cold shoulder. That's an expression. I would give them the cold shoulder and I would ignore them. Another expression is going on a wild goose chase. My mom uses this expression all of the time. It has nothing to do with geese. Going on a wild goose chase means to do something pointless. Because wild geese, you just can't catch them. So all of these things don't actually have anything to do with what you're talking about. But they are kind of fun to use and they make you think. They make you dive for that meaning. They make you search for the meaning. Expressions make you think harder. I want you to think if you've heard any other expressions before. I want you to think about something maybe adults in your life say, or expressions you've heard on TV, expressions that you may have already read in your books. There are so many different expressions. Another common one is to say, "Don't cry over spilt milk." It means there's no point in dwelling or focusing on something bad that's already happened. You have to move forward. I'm telling you all of this so that you can be on the lookout in your own books. We talked about as we read harder books, we're going to see more expressions because good writers use expressions. And we're reading some really good books. So the authors of our books were very purposeful when they put those expressions in the story. You will need to use your grit to figure these expressions out. When readers come across confusing expressions in their books, their job is to know what is going on in the story so that they can figure out the expression. They can figure out what the author means. So again, to figure out what the expression means, you will need to know what is going on in your story and know what has already happened and what could happen. You should be happy about this new challenge. It means you're reading harder books. We're using our grit. We're really thinking, and we're being tough cookies. That was a lot of information, friends, but what I want you to take away is that I want you to expect to see expressions in your books and parts that make you go, huh. I want you to know that these expressions are often called figurative language. And I want you to be able to figure out what these expressions mean or might mean based on your understanding of the book. Really be thoughtful and don't just speed through a part you don't know. You might be missing a really great and funny expression if you just speed by it. I'm going to show you another example, but this example is from Indian shoes. As Ray hurried to dress for the game, he wondered what Coach Onsi and his teammates would say. Maybe he thought, I'll just keep my cap on. Just then, Ray heard Coach Onsi's SUV honk from the driveway. Honk, honk. It was time to go. Good luck, Grandpa said, deciding not to ride along for the first time ever. I'll take the L and meet you there. I just have one more thing to look after today. You show those rockets what for, though, you hear? Ray hoisted himself into the back seat of the coach's SUV, and his heart slid right down to his toenails. Stop. I know, as a third grader, that your heart, it's impossible for it to slide all the way down to your toenails. That must be an expression. What could that expression mean, though? I have to think about what's going on in my story and what I already know from my story. So what I already know about my story is that Grandpa Half Moon and Ray are close to one another. And therefore, I'm going to guess that Ray's pretty sad that Grandpa won't be going to his game. So maybe that means that his heart didn't actually slide down to his toenails, but instead his heart dropped. He was disappointed. He felt sad. People talk about their hearts when they talk about feelings. I think if I had to guess that expression means Ray felt sad that his grandpa is not going to go to the game. He's disappointed. He's very disappointed. I used what I already knew from the story and what's going on in this chapter to figure out what that expression meant. And you're going to do the same thing in your books. I think if you open your eyes and really look for expressions, you will find a ton in your own reading. Readers climb the hurdles of hard words by using so many different strategies, and the new one that we're focusing on today is that they are working out figurative language phrases. We're going to get better and better at this as time goes along. I know that this is a big idea, and I think that you're ready for it. I want you to keep an eye out for expressions in your reading. If words seem kind of funny and they might not make literal sense, they could be figurative language or expressions. Be on the lookout.